Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive Live here. Good to see it again after another Jaguars victory. They extend 2-5. And I think a good way, if you hear more of the song that is the theme song that we play here, that is the Jaguars championship song, there is a part in there that says, "You better run, Forrest, run." Well, run, Bigsby, run, I think was a big thing for the day. Listen, I know that the Duval devout are overjoyed by that fact and many others of things that took place in the game. Somebody in particular who has been championing the metamorphosis of Tank Bigsby more than anybody else was probably excited to see this game. And of course, I'm talking about my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. Tank everywhere. So let's go have a run. Goodness gracious, it was 1950s football later in that game for the Jags, and I'm not even mad at it. What a game overall, and I am looking forward already to Wednesday's edition of the Duval Dive, 7:30 Eastern, for what you see in the O-line's film, especially Ezra Cleveland. Very dominant in run blocking. But yeah, Tank Bigsby, bro. Am I right?
I mean, you're right. Tank Bisbee. He is a person. He does exist. He is a tank. Yes, he is very. That man is a monster to bring down, and he did very well today. And Dearness Johnson, not to I want to make sure I give him credit also. I mean, him averaging 4.2 yards a carry also. Like, they both deserve major credit. But it was just great to see the coaching staff finally lean into the fact that they are a good running team when they want to be. They just never want to be, and put everything on Trevor's shoulders. So great job there. Great job on Trevor just being the quote unquote game manager, and whatever you want to call it. Like, the man managed the game very well and just made this a dominant victory because they didn't make him do too much, and he just succeeded like wonderfully in all the way in everything they asked him to do. It was beautiful, man.
I think it's ironic that they play the Patriots for 2 years. A, I will always get a kick out of a team in London named the Patriots playing American football. That ish is amazing. I don't care who you are. B,
no.
With all that in mind, it's ironic they play the Patriots because this felt to me like a young Tom Brady game in the way they beat them, right? And I know people, I know people use the term game manager as a quarterback slur, which I've pushed back for a long time. If you look at the Sports Symposium video I put up on Hilarity by Default, we're talking years ago, man.
Okay. Yeah.
It still holds true today that the term game manager shouldn't be a slur. You hold on to the ball. You don't turn it over. You hit the big passes when you have the opportunity, which, hey, who here guaranteed a lottery ticket ball to BTJ? I'll grant. It's a pretty heavy branch I walked out to the edge of. That pitch was probably breaking very much, but nonetheless, we did call for it, not only here on the Duval Dive Wednesday, but also on the Keys to the Game on the Fans First Sports Network. So there's that as well. I'll give you a bell if you said something about it in Big Cat Country too as well.
I don't know.
Oh, I had it ready and everything, but
I'm still writing it as we speak. The article is 99% written, but it's not done yet.
So look out for it later today, Big Cat Country. There, I got the bell. There we go. So with all that being said, this had that element where game management was a thing. I think this may not be the most, air quotes, most productive, but it was certainly the most efficient performance by Trevor Lawrence. And yeah, exactly. I think defensively, there were some missed interceptions. You would have preferred your DB brethren haul in. Did love to see Tyson Campbell back on the field. He's one of the guys that dropped an interception. He was pissed about it too. I mean, I know some of the guys' mannerisms from covering him at camp and various other places, but you didn't have to be an expert in body language to know he wanted that ball bad. It would have been made for a great return, but defensively also something else you and I both called for, a Trayvon Walker sack. We certainly got that.
Yes,
I mean, what else am I missing here that you saw that you enjoyed?
I mean, we've talked about the big ticket items. I mean, the fact that the running game was as dominant as it was, and we all kind of thought it would be, as long as they actually just tried to do it. Shocker. But also, But also the fact that the special teams got involved. Like, again, you got a Jaguars franchise record of the longest punt return touchdown for in the history of the organization. Also the first touchdown. Yeah, the first touchdown to take place in London at either stadium by any NFL team. So shout out Parker Washington. We talked about that in the preseason when he originally had the whole kick return. That was the longest one in the league. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to talk about, what he's going to say about that next week when they're back into the States. But again, that hyped up the team at a time that the game was already looking like, all right, the Jaguars are going to have it in control, to a point where, okay, no, the Jaguars are doing something. All right, they're getting everyone involved now. All right, cool. Like, I enjoy seeing the defense who was struggling that first quarter. All of a sudden, they just flipped that switch as soon as those scripted plays were over. And now they're getting 2, 3 and outs in a row. They gave up over 100 total yards in the first quarter, but then end up giving up 18 yards in the second quarter to the Patriots offense. And I'm like, all right, cool. They're figuring it out. They figured out, they got all the butterflies out of the stomach, whatever. And then they just started playing something like solid offense, solid defense, all the things that they should have been doing throughout the rest of the year had they been healthy, maybe. But again, this is a team that is good enough to beat bad football teams, and that's not me throwing shade at the Patriots, but we all know. I mean, we've had multiple conversations with the guys over, on a different Patriots podcast, and they know also that is a bad team. That is a rebuilding season. This Jaguars offense, this Jaguars defense, this roster across the board is good enough to beat bad teams. The question always is going to remain what they're going to do against those just adequate, those average, those even above average rosters who also are well coached. And that's always been my question. That still remains my question today.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of that. You say to beat bad teams. If anybody's debating, by the way, whether or not the Pats are a bad team, as if there was a debate, there's not. But the longest losing streak handed to the Patriots now at this point under the ownership of Bob Kraft. So that's a big deal. I'll put it out there, that this is, it's going to be unfortunate. The irony that Jags fans were celebrating Travis Hunter and now they might've taken themselves out of the hunt for Travis, because would the Patriots dare to replace Drake Lee already? I don't know. I doubt it.
No.
But listen,
I have to say no.
Yeah, so do I. And listen, apparently it's the New England Patriots' turn to get out of their ACC quarterback phase. Maybe that's the issue.
Well, at the end of the day, this win, it feels good, and that's what we want, man. Everybody look in the words of Roy Wood Jr. Everybody's looking for that little crab leg in life, and then this week, this victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars was that crab leg. So like, people are going to feel good, and they should. However, this is not a meal. This is a week. This is an appetizer. It feels great. Right. It feels great.
This is a McDonald's. This is a McDonald's Happy Meal.
No, this is a McDonald's medium fry, and you should feel good about having and you should feel good about having that medium fry. But let's call it what it is until we can see more evidence that we can be more than this, because we have a game coming up this week that we should absolutely look forward to. But enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy not feeling down about the future of this franchise for at least the week or at least a few days, and then we'll get back on it and kind of realize and just kind of figure out what this means for the rest of the season. Because to that earlier point, a lot of people were looking forward to, well, at least I can just rip the Band-Aid off. If they lose today, then at least it's over, and then you can just start focusing on the future. And nobody wants to feel that, man. Like, let's be real. Nobody wants to feel that way. This is kind of what we've been beat down to feel at this point. So I'm happy for the team. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the fans who actually did want that victory, and you can feel good about it. And whether that means that they'll be able to do it again next week, we'll leave that to next week, man. But it feels good, at least for today.
Giving them that 24-hour rule that even the players themselves get. I dig that, Travis. By the way, as a side note, more irony being brought to you. A huge 96-yard punt return against the Patriots by a dude named Washington. The jokes keep coming, Travis Holmes.
I laughed when we were over there singing our national anthem in their country that's stolen from them in the first place, because it was an old bar song. Just all of it, like, it was just hilarious to me. I'm like, wait, we in your house singing about how we whoop your behind with your stolen song? This is crazy. It's wild, but it's funny, man. But I love the U.S. We got such balls on us. I love this, man.
Let's get in, and I got to give credit to Mike Barber. We talk about spreading our love on other New England Patriots
Yes.
podcast. Mike debuted on a Patriots podcast this week. Mike, if you want to drop the name
Yeah,
of
he
it
did.
in the comments, I'm glad to pimp it out there. But he has a question here talking about wonky decisions and a weak play calling at the end of the game. Makes me feel like problems are still in the house, even in the win. I will push back slightly, and I might be unique in this with my offensive lineman, how you say, bias. I liked hey, we're pushing you all over the field right now. Let's stomp on your throat and end the game here. Because you know what? I don't think you and Drake May can do enough to beat us in the football game. And they did miss the 4th and 1. And as I prop up Ezra Cleveland, he misses a key block that would have potentially made that 401 happen. But, you know, it doesn't work. And listen, I like the confidence there of Doug Peterson saying, you know what, y'all, go get it. If you don't, cool. Defense, they ain't gonna beat us because we got you. And that might be the best coaching, in my opinion, from a morale standpoint you could ask for from Doug Peterson. A team where you've allegedly lost the locker room to show belief like that, to me, is a bigger deal. Sure, the fans and the Duval Devout may have an inquisition and gripe about it, but I can see some of the positive there that took place as they come away with the W here, and doing so in dominant fashion. And I love the way, by the way, that at the end of the game, after the Pats failed to convert the 4th and 26, they ran the damn ball in the end zone in there again. Stop me, I dare you. I double dare you, mother bleep. There you go. Right out of Pulp Fiction.
That's it. Like, again, like earlier in the season, we got angry with the coaching staff for taking the ball out of Trevor Lawrence's hands at one point. Then we got angry at the coaching staff for running. The Duval Devout.
You and I were cool.
Yes, the umbrella of the Duval Devout. The city of Jacksonville got angry for taking the ball out of his hands. Then we get angry for running the ball. Sorry, as I say, we ran the ball in the first week, so they were angry that they ran the ball. Then they were angry for putting it too much in his hands instead of running the ball and not enough. Now we have this week where we ran the ball a lot and it worked, but then we're mad because they didn't do play action. Because they didn't do play action on the 4th down play. Like, no one cares unless if it works, it's a great play call. If it don't work, everyone's mad. These are the rules, and they are chaotic rules. So unfortunately, I normally will agree with Mike because Mike's my guy. But overall, I can't agree with this individual situation. You're finally having a dominant game, finally showing the ability to move folks up front and have them on skis all game. And then you get to the 4th down situation and you're trying to just grow these guys' confidence at a game where they're being dominant up front. Hey man, you gotta try to punch them in the mouth and just let these guys believe in themselves. That's how that plays in the locker room. Like, that's kind of what it's gotta be.
Yeah, 1,000,000,000%. By the way, in the name of continuing to make jokes, I make some comment about the Happy Meal, and then here comes my son over here trying to get into the show. I mean, I feel like that's my fault. But no, listen, I'm 1,000,000,000% on that, and let them know that feeling too, so they can reproduce it in other games. Because I got to tell you, Travis, there's a lot of tough football coming up on the schedule. We'll save that part for Wednesday, but this is the opportunity to teach people there. Yeah.
So I appreciated the fact that they actually did lean in. A lot of people were mad about the saying, "Hey, Trevor could have walked in if he would have just bootlegged it, play action and bootlegged it or something." I'm like, yeah, scramble, yeah, but cool. Everything could have happened if it didn't happen the way it happened.
Trevor hurt himself the first time last year too on a boot. All we're mad about. Suddenly now you want a boot. You can't have it both ways.
Right. People just want it because they want it to be successful, and they want it. They want perfection from everyone, because at the root of all of this is that folks just don't believe in the scheme, so they're going to nitpick and they're going to criticize everything no matter what it is. But for the most part, I thought it was a well called game, and we talked about the fact that for weeks I've said that I didn't think this team had an overall identity on the offensive side of the ball. I think that's slightly been course corrected over these past few weeks. Honestly, I think over the past 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks straight, that this has been sort of rectified. As far as the team, honestly, running a lot more like the Detroit Lions, and folks might scoff at hearing that because we are full steam ahead, all Ben Johnson season right now. But for the most part, they have been solid with this whole, I'm going to run the ball with these two backs. I'm going to try to manage, I'm trying to give Trevor these easier throws, maybe a lot of that play action, eating in the middle of the field. And as long as the plays and the throws are connected, then I think everybody's kind of fine with it. And that's kind of what we saw today. This was not significantly different than the Jared Goff game that he recently had when he was like 18 of 18 at one point in the game. And that's kind of where I'm leaning on this. It's just, this was a very efficient game by Trevor Lawrence. Great job. A dominant game by Tank Bigsby. We didn't get to see Travis Etienne, obviously, because he was injured, but Dearness Johnson held his own, kind of manning that role. Good job, man.
Well, and I think it was good to use this game. I don't want to say load management, but yeah, load management for Travis Etienne, you know, for him to get right because, well, listen, this goes back to the preseason that Doug was going to be trying to balance the load, to take some of it off of Travis Etienne, you know, to be as healthy as possible for an extended point of the season. I think this is something you and I both heard him talk about in June? So yeah. I think that's an element of it 100%. Speaking of other Pat pods there, this is I thought Hogan and I had a great conversation. Nick comes in, great win today, one step closer to the number one pick for us. I hope you enjoy Travis Hunter if you go that direction, Nick. I'll put it that way.
Nick, I need you guys to win some games, man, because I still want that number one pick too. I want both. I want to win games and get the number one pick, and I don't care how it happens.
And it wouldn't be the first time the Jags pulled that off. If you'll remember the Urban Meyer year, or rather after Urban Meyer left that year, beating the Colts in that final game and still getting the first overall pick to eventually turn into Trayvon Walker was a thing that happened. Yeah, I mean, how do you not say no to a high pick? But hey, listen, at the end of the day, you never know. They may not pick Travis Hunter. And to be honest, I think Travis Hunter is a better fit for the Jags than would be the Patriots. They need so much. Bringing Travis Hunter in at that point, I think, doesn't do enough for what they need as a team. I think for a team to pick a Travis Hunter high, they need to have some sort of established quarterback. And let Emmanuel Acho say what he will about Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's a reality where even he would say he's worse than Drake May. I don't think that's happening. God, I hope not.
Maybe. Never know. I mean, not necessarily a certified ball watcher, so they can come up with any kind of takes.
By the way, speaking of certified ball watchers, Mike comes in. He was with the Foxborough Fellas podcast. So make sure if you want to see Mike Barber do his debut, you can check him out on there. That was a good time. Also a slight correction from our guy. Apparently I said something about play action on Ford. If I said that, that's a slip. No, yeah. Listen, I love the 17 runs straight. Mike, like I said, man, 4 yards in a cloud of dust was doing it today late in the game. And that's how you're supposed to close out a football game against a bad football team. That's 101.
Bingo.
You know.
Bingo. And I said this was the 2023 Atlanta Falcons game in London all over again, except we had Ryan Nielsen on our side this time. Like he just switched sides. That's all. That's what this was. This was a joint practice. And I don't mean that as a knock to the Patriots. I do mean that in the sense of when you're up that much and you have a team who's showing you that they inconsistently can run block, and you have the ability in an in-game situation to go against to run the ball and get your blocking reps in, make sure all your guys have cohesion and all on the same page and figuring out what each guy's going to do in these, like, you have this opportunity to do that. That's why I say it's like a joint practice situation. You do it. 17 rushes in a row. I think it might have been 18 rushes in a row, and they were still struggling to stop you outside of one or two plays here and there. Hey, man, I have no issue with that at all when you can finally do that. That takes me back to that old Colts game when the Jaguars ran for like 375 yards with MJD and Maurice Jones-Drew. And this obviously wasn't that, but I'm going to give my offensive line all the reps that they can get to kind of get on the same page, because you never know what that can look like at the end of the season. Maybe that will be the game that turned it all around for them.
I'm looking on Twitter. I see a reply from Rob C at Jags Nationwide. You predicted a running back trade, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, with James Robinson leaving the building.
James Robinson, 48 hours beforehand, yeah.
Travis Etienne. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting, but I thought that for a long time. But I thought, like, I legitimately thought that preseason, and that's not me hearing something. That's just
Yeah, you
context.
and
That's
I,
just me figuring it out.
on the Duval dive throughout the preseason had mentioned his option coming up would make things interesting. I had
Right.
even alluded to the fact that his future with the Jags might be limited. It could be an opportunity to trade him now while you can, quotes, still get something rather than let that 5th-year option expire, right? So I see some
Right.
data there.
But as soon as they said he had a hamstring injury at the end of last week, I'm like, well, that's going to be pushed back a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, he's practicing throughout the week, and he's a game time decision. And I'm like, oh, that feels eerily similar to Devontae Adams. I mean, I'm not trying to say this is what happened, but I am saying we've seen this story, and I don't think it's outrageous for anyone to have that thought that that might be something that's on the table.
Yeah, and this
Possibly.
is this isn't to say that Indian's a bad football player, but this is a
No.
team that needs still pieces and still to build. And they have to do it through the draft because of what's going on with the cash, such that it is with all these recent extensions and stuff.
And again, this is not something where I think the Jaguars are actually reaching out to teams and trying to make things happen. I don't think that's even how the Roy Robertson Harris situation happened. This is all the teams sitting back and letting teams call. So originally, when I even put my recent 2 weeks ago tweet out saying that these are the guys who I think that could be trade candidates. We talked about that on this past Wednesday's Duval dive. These are the guys who I think that other teams would be reaching out to the Jaguars to say, hey, what would you ask for this guy? And Travis Etienne would obviously be at the top of that list. Whether or not he's going to be someone that they're willing to let go is another conversation between the GM and the head coach. But
Yeah.
it's someone who I think teams would be reaching out for because it just makes sense, especially the Jaguars lose, in the next week or two coming up.
Well, and that 7th-round pick running back you talk about, Robinson,
Keelan Robinson, yep.
Keelan, that's what Robinson. It was something like that. Yeah. Is he enough to kind of fill that scat back pass catcher role in the event they ship Travis Etienne in the Jaguars' mind is an interesting question too. He's been so limited by injury, we don't really know what his status is.
Right. But you have Dearness also filling that role right now. So then you will just have Keelan being that third guy who was give you the option to be like a scat back, like a Jamal Agnew kind of specialist role, kind of type role.
I feel like, and by the way, as a pro Dearness guy, having covered him, in the Shrine game out of college, covering him with the Orlando Apollos of the Alliance of American Football, back in 2018, which everybody's probably forgotten by now. That I think he's a good guy. I don't know that I would call him a replacement for Etienne per se. I think
the passing game. In the passing game specifically, pass blocking and things of that nature.
Right. He's a good, exactly. That's what I was getting to. He's more a kind of a versatility back, whereas maybe he won't be as fast as Travis. Maybe he won't be as quite as good a pass catcher, but he's definitely at least as good in pass pro. And if you ask me, if you have a versatility back, he has to be able to block first. Otherwise, he's a waste of time. Right. So, there's a statement.
And Tank Bigsby had that drop on the screen pass today that had folks immediately saying, "Oh man, that's why they keep ETN on the roster," and it stinks because it's a rainy game. And if any other day, I can go with folks on that, but it sucks for that to have to happen to him. In this that's his one downfall today was that drop on that one screen pass.
Hey, ish happens, y'all. But there's a statement in the comments I want you to address, and I don't know if I agree with it, but here, with I love the name Jit TV. Etienne is just not better than Bigsby.
Maybe not. But define better, man. That's not even
where I am. Like they
right. Is Gibbs better than Montgomery? Is Montgomery better than Gibbs? Is like the better like if depends on what you're asking them to do. Are you talking about pass protection? Because pass protection matters. And as soon as your quarterback gets his head knocked off from a blitz coming from the backside, you're going to be like, well, I wish we had a better pass protector. That these things matter, and they obviously trust Dearness and they trust Etienne better to fill those roles. In addition to catching the ball out of the backfield and actually, securing the ball and missing tackles in open space, they trust ETN to do those things, and on some level they trust Dearness Johnson to also. So, are you saying better at running the ball? Sure, I can go with that. But you also don't want to tip your hand every play, saying that I have this guy in the game, so I'm probably going to run the ball 85% of the times, because then that kind of gives away to the defense. So you're kind of stuck with that until you truly trust fully Tank Bigsby in all aspects of the game. You're kind of just stuck there.
Yeah, and interestingly, Jit TV asks, when is the trade deadline? I think it's like November 5th at 4 o'clock, something like that.
Something.
So
yeah, I think we both just said the same date. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 more Sundays, and then in the middle of that following week. So it's approaching. There's still
I believe
time.
it's normally a Tuesday, so I'm assuming it's like November 5th or something like that.
Yeah, like it's, let me Google real quick. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock on the 5th. Yeah, so there you
5th.
go.
Okay, yeah.
We had it right. There you go. It's kind of a thing we do here on the Duval Dive, getting ish right.
Knowing stuff. Ball knowers. Weird. But no, man. So it was a good day, but just to give the defense a little bit of, a conversation, a little bit of credit as far as what they did, man, because they did have a solid game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they would struggle a lot more with running backs out of the backfield, and they did struggle early on, just to be real about that. Like, obviously, letting Hasty catch that ball. And having Josh and
in the first quarter certainly counts. Yes,
right. Having Ryan Nielsen having Josh Hines Allen in zone coverage was not the greatest start to the game, because I'm sure everyone was cursing around, cursing everybody out in church early on a Sunday morning, because Hines Allen is in coverage on a former Jaguar. He misses the tackle. You get Cisco misses barely gets a hand on him at the 2-yard line, and he scores a touchdown. And we all have that same feeling of, oh man, here we go. And I'm sure the players are probably had that same feeling. Oh man, here we go. But then they found a way to just kind of like stamp this thing down and just be in the moment, and found a way to get these 3 and outs, got the punt return touchdown, and the route was kind of on at that point. I mean, I think the Jaguars at one point scored, 25 points straight. That's a pretty good day. That's a great day at the office, and it's a great time for the defense to continue getting those stops over and over and over again. Also, shout out to Travon Walker for getting that sack late in the game. So, yeah, I mean, that man's been balling these last 11 games, man.
What was it? Well, what was it? The number I saw John Shipley of Jaguars NSI put out. It's 24 sacks in 16 games, or do I have that backwards? 16 sacks, 24 games.
Oh,
I don't know. It's a ridiculous number. Not either way you turn it. So
Walker's been doing so dang well, and I know a lot of folks, because again, I already have all the different group chats going, and they're like, well, it was a rookie sack because he should have gone and he should have stepped up in the pocket instead of bailing out of the pocket. That's not wrong, but nevertheless, a sack's a sack, man, because other people get those same sacks too. They're not always going to be the clean ones that take 2 seconds. So the man did what he was supposed to do. He dominated the tackle, and he got the sack to close the game out. That's exactly what you want to see.
And Devin Lloyd, by the way, getting a sack of his own. I mean, I did not have that on the bingo card, but you got to see it, especially after getting busted for loafing last week.
Fair. He got busted for loafing, and he had a rough start to the game too. It's like he's actually in my list of guys that's probably going to be one of the defensive players of the game, and he still had a rough go of it early on in coverage. So I don't know how to land that plane, but I think he still did it solid. He bounced back in a solid way, and I'll give him credit on that, man.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's easy to come out struggling if there's a part of the game plan that's awkward or any of that happens. That's as long as you bounce back and do your job. Ended up leading the team in tackles on the day, by the way. Him and Ventrell Miller haven't been terrible in the absence of Foye Oluokun. I mean,
haven't been terrible. There's such a low bar, but I don't understand. They've been solid. Like Ventrell's been good.
Ventrell Miller, I'm incredibly impressed with. The reason why I word it that way is you can notice there's a fall off, but I honestly thought it would be a lot worse. And granted, let's also, we've been saying a lot of positive. Let's also do the public service announcement of reminding the people at large that this is in fact the New England Patriots on the worst skid under this ownership group, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, we know all that's a factor. I mentioned earlier, tough games coming. We'll get into that more on Wednesday. I want to let you Duval devout enjoy the victory for 24 hours. I want Travis to not have to go to his closet to get this team makes me shirt. This team makes
me drink shirt. Yes, I understood.
I haven't even had a drop of beer today. Maybe I need some. But the fact that I'm not making you go to the closet to get that shirt, I'm trying to be considerate. Hopefully it's because, I'm making you laugh too much with my dyslexia. So figurative. Not settle down, people. Man, listen, I'm in kind of an awkward space of how to land the plane on the show because, we're talking about all these good things. And then with the warning label and the PSA of, but watch out, y'all. So it's a
land the plane exactly how we landed the Indianapolis Colts' first victory of the season. Enjoy your weekend. Blow out the candles. Have a drink on the Jaguars. Enjoy your weekend and just bask in having this victory. Does it materially move the needle or change anything in the scope of the season? Probably not, and that's okay. But just enjoy saying that you got this victory today, and we'll see what it truly means come next week, because that was exactly how we were going into that Indianapolis Colts game. Was like everybody was super down on the team, and they were like, this team can't do anything. And then they won against the Colts, and it's like, well, maybe there's something. And then they lost, and they were like, oh, this team is who we thought they were. All right, cool. And now we're back to that same question of, all right, who are they? They beat two bad teams. Did that materially change anything? In next week's episode, we'll see.
And I had this thought, and I think this is a good way to close the show for the Duval Devout. If they catch those 4 drop touchdowns, let's say half of, they would need all 4 of them with the beatdown that took place. 4.
It's a 4-point difference, though.
And by the way, that means Trevor Lawrence would have himself broken the touchdown record in London instead of Caleb Williams because he only completed 4. I digress. We're looking at, what do you mean? What am I getting wrong there?
It's a 4-point difference. 3 of the drops happened on one drive. On the same drive they later scored on.
I thought it was only 2 of them that were the same.
Three of them happened on the same drive. The second to last drive, and 3 of them happened on that same drive. The only other drop that happened in the game was the Gabe Davis early drop where they got a field goal. So it's a 4-point difference in the game.
I was about to correct myself, but apparently it wasn't enough. Okay, so I thought only 2 of them were on the same drive. My mistake. Okay, so. Yep. Okay, good. Then they're not having that thought. But I wonder if that thought is permeating among the Duval Devout. Wow, that Bears game, if it were X. And listen, maybe if they get that touchdown, the defense doesn't loaf. We made the point on this podcast last week. In the instant reaction, we see the loafing late. You confirmed it with the all 22 that it didn't start happening until the, in performance. Maybe this team has 3 wins straight and they're actually, golly jeepers, playoffs. So I say all the above to say this. I said it after the Colts game. I'll say it here because it holds true, even though I don't think it'll necessarily happen. I was fooled also in 2022. Let the record show that. But this, if there is going to be an amazing playoff push and swing, it starts with this football game. That being said, there's an awful lot of NFC North football. And what killed 2023 was an awful lot of AFC North football. In other words, a tough division coming up the schedule, that's wildly problematic. But again, we're going to save something for Wednesday, folks. Travis D. Holmes, let's land this plane, man. Where do people find you at, bro?
Oh, you can find all my writings covering the Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com right here. Check it out. If you're watching this live, within the next 10 minutes, you will have the Big Cat Country game recap on BigCatCountry.com. Take a look at it. Got all the advanced stats, the regular stats, the traditional stats. We're going to have your game balls for all the different players and just all the little, musings, takeaways, and everything. And then we'll have the game recap also on Monday on BigCatCountry.com. Save it as your favorites. Also follow me on Travis D. Holmes on all the socials, and we can chop it up and talk football. I actually respond back. I am a fan with you guys, but I also cover the team. Again, I'm Duval till we die. Love you guys. And also am super frustrated because this team always makes me drink just like you guys. Where can you be found, sir?
Listen, his wife does make a mean mint julep, though, so that helps.
There we go.
But listen, like and subscribe Duval Dive YouTube channel as well, by the way. I don't know if you said it, but I'm going to anyway. So
thank you.
With all that in mind, Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at the SOTG as the student of the game on Facebook. Check out my writing on Fans First Sports Network, where I will drop the good, the bad, and the spotty. This week's edition of pointing out my observations and how much Travis reads it and says, "You don't know ball, Nash." I'm joking. So make sure you check out Fans First Sports Network. Also, if you don't catch the video, you can get that there on the podcast and take it with you to wherever it is you want to go to make your life less pleasant and have a little bit more Jaguar time in it. I may not be a card-carrying member of the Duval Devout, but I cover the team and bring wisdom, and I'm here to lift up my personal champion when he needs it. And today, I don't think you need it, brother. That's we'll leave all of that with that. So, for my good friend, my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes of Big Cat Country, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Special thanks again to the people in the comments coming in big. And of course, congratulations once more to Mike Barber doing his podcast debut, guesting on the Foxborough Fellas podcast. That's fun to see. Our good friend spread his wings.
That guy
as well. 100% joy seeing that work. So with all that in honor, joy, and privilege, we'll see all y'all Wednesday for the next Duval Live episode. But until then, class dismiss.